Number 2, the Vaknin-Rangelowska Foundation has published 2 free books. You can download them for free. One of them has to do with the chronon field theory. It's a book in physics. And it describes the groundbreaking efforts and work of Eitan Sached, building upon the foundation of my chronon field theory as described in my doctoral dissertation in 1982-1984. It's a revolutionary recasting of physics, and I recommend that you get the book. It's free, and those of you who are into physics are in for a Luna Park ride. Now, the second book, published again free of charge, available for download in English, Macedonian, and Albanian. It's a trilingual edition. The book is titled Scientific Healing and Recovery from Narcissistic Abuse, Evidence-Based Practices, Clinical and Self-Help. And it is available, as I said, for free download. It summarizes my work in the field of narcissistic abuse and the current scientific knowledge regarding healing and recovery from such toxic relationships. Don't miss the opportunity to download this book for free. Again, it's in 3 languages, English, Macedonian, and Albanian. When you go to the description, you will find a link to the page, the download page of the chronon field theory book, and a link to the download page of the Scientific Healing and Recovery book. And simply click on the links. You will be forwarded to a page, and on the page you will find the download links, and you can avail yourself free of charge of these 2 tomes. Today we're going to discuss the subtle ways in which you bribe your abuser. Yes, when you have a relationship, when you maintain a toxic relationship with an abuser, gradually the abuser forces you to bribe him in order to maintain his presence or her presence in your life. The bribes are surreptitious, they're subtle, they're invisible, they're indiscernible, they're difficult to spot and difficult to identify. But it is definitely a venal system in which you offer the abuser concessions, and the abuser accepts them graciously, deigns and condescends and patronizes you, and in return agrees to stay in your life and continue the abuse. This is an integral mechanism of trauma bonding. My name is Sam Vaknin. I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited, and I'm a professor of psychology. Let us start with a basic fact. The abuser holds you in unmitigated contempt. His disdain for you knows no boundaries because you are, in his eyes or her eyes, inferior. You're weak. You're vulnerable. The abuser externalizes or projects his or her bad object onto you, attributes to you the parts of himself that he finds objectionable, that he rejects, that he's ashamed of. He puts all of these on you, and then he identifies you with these parts, and then he says you are the one. So the abuser holds you in contempt either because you're an inferior being whilst he is superior to you in every way imaginable, or because he is pro-social. He regards his morality, his ethics, his code of conduct far superior to you or to yours. So this is a basic fact. Regardless of appearances, regardless of ostentatious behaviors, regardless of statements to the contrary, regardless of protestations and exclamations and proclamations and promulgations, regardless of all this theater, all this performative shared fantasy of unending, undying, unyielding love, idealization of you, and so on. Regardless of all this, the undercurrent is contempt, disdain, disgust, repulsion even. And yet, the abuser keeps you in his life because you provide him with 2 of the 4 S's: sex, supply, narcissistic or sadistic, if the abuser is so inclined, services, and your stable, safe presence, the 4 S's. 2 of them suffice. The abuser keeps you in his life, but he wants you to maintain a specific profile. He does not want you to deviate from the internal object that represents you in his mind. And this internal object is helpless, dependent, submissive, weak, stupid, labile, dysregulated, and infirm or even sick. These are the characteristics of the internal object, because one of the main roles of the internal object, one of the main functions of the internal object, is to sustain the abuser's self-concept and self-image and self-perception as godlike and superior. By devaluing the internal object, by attributing to the internal object all kinds of inferior attributes and characteristics, the abuser maintains his own or her own inflated, fantastic, grandiose, counterfactual perception or conception of the self. An internal object is always inferior to the abuser. And so the abuser rewards you. The abuser praises you. The abuser, in a way, bribes you. The abuser encourages you, incentivizes you, cajoles you, persuades you, convinces you, pushes you, eggs you on. The abuser molds you, shapes you, sculpts you, so that you fully conform to the internal object. No daylight between you and the internal object. And he creates a system of reinforcements, positive reinforcements and negative reinforcements, which put together, amount to conditioning. He rewards you whenever you are dependent, whenever you show helplessness, learned helplessness, whenever you are submissive, whenever you are admiring, whenever you are weak, whenever you display your stupidity or ignorance, whenever you're labile and dysregulated, whenever you're sick and infirm physically or mentally, whenever you're in need. This dependency upon the abuser is encouraged, is a loyalty test. It's proof of faithfulness, adherence, bonding, attachment. By being constantly ill mentally and physically, by being always helpless, in need of guidance and authority, by being submissive and weak, by displaying ignorance and stupidity ostentatiously, by being constantly dysregulated and labile, by being dependent, overwhelmed by emotions, ups and downs, mood swings, you name it. When you're like that, all over the place, broken, damaged, fragmented, disjointed, disintegrated, it is then that the abuser loves you most. It is then that he love bombs you, idealizes you, because then you sustain and maintain and buttress and conform and confirm and affirm the internal object. Internal object is a message to the abuser. It's a signal. Look at the internal object, says the abuser to himself, and evince your superiority. The internal object is so inferior, you're so superior. Internal object is stupid, you're a genius. The internal object is weak, you're strong. Internal object is infirm, you're healthy. The internal object is submissive, you're dominant. The internal object is dependent, you are independent. And the external object, which is you, has to conform to the internal object to maintain this fiction, this narrative of superiority, of godlike qualities. The divinity of the abuser, his invincibility, invulnerability, impermeability, is utter brilliance and omniscience and omnipotence, and all this is maintained in contradistinction to you, in opposition to you, by comparison with you. You are the lowly yardstick. You're the lowly life form against which the abuser measures himself, and which affirms to him, confirms to him, is eternal ascendance, superiority, and perfection. If you, as an external object, were to challenge the internal object, the way the abuser sees you, then this is betrayal. The shared fantasy, this joint narrative, which is counterfactual, fantastic, grandiose, inflated, crazy, absolutely crazy. The shared fantasy casts your personal autonomy and your agency as forms of betrayal. You're betraying him. When you're strong, you're betraying him. When you're independent, you're betraying him. When you're agentic, when you have your own mind, when you make your own decisions, when you have your own social circles and friends, when you are not helpless, when you are not submissive, when you are strong, when you're resilient, when you're intelligent and knowledgeable, when you're stable, not labile, when you are in control of your emotions, not the other way, when you're not sick and ill and infirm, but healthy, in all these situations, the abuser perceives you as the reification and embodiment and personification of betrayal. You're betraying the joint narrative. You're betraying the shared fantasy. You're betraying this universe that you have put together. You're betraying the perception of we against everyone else. You're betraying the cult. And so, in most cases, the victims acquiesce. They play these roles. The dependent ingenue, the helpless maid in distress or damsel, the submissive woman, the weak partner, the stupid ignorant in need of edification and education with her guru, the labile, dysregulated, hapless creature, the infirm, sick, ill, dependent person. They play these roles. But if you play roles long enough, you become these roles. You internalize them. They render you crippled. They invalidate you. They make you an invalid. The constant attempt to bribe the abuser by conforming to his perception of you, by playing the role of an inferior creature, an imperfect creature, an imperfect being. This constant attempt to keep him in his life or keep her in your life by not being you, by denying who you are, by negating your personal autonomy, your independence, your agency, your self-efficacy, your power, your resilience, your strength, your good qualities, your education, your gifts, your skills, your talents, negating, destroying, vitiating, eradicating, ignoring, suppressing, burying all this, becoming a shell of yourself, not you. This constant attempt to bribe the abuser into never leaving you, into always being there, into fulfilling the role of, I don't know, father, mother, guru. These constant attempts ultimately become a second nature, and they replace your identity, who you used to be. And one day you wake up and you find out that you are no more a mere figment in the abuser's ongoing serial or movie, a piece of fiction, ephemeral, words on paper, images on screen, but never real. You have disappeared.